how anybody in their right mind can look at what he's doing here and not consider this community service. It's absolutely it boggles my mind, right? He's been doing this for years. He is providing a valuable service for Calgary, and to have Justice Germain say that it's not a community service, it's wild. So he did say that he couldn't use this for his hours, but he didn't say that Artur couldn't sign off on my hours.
I find this ironic and very interesting that he's here serving his community service that we were charged with. Me and my brother David and Chris Scott, we are to do community service, but me and my brother David, we cannot do it here because the judge doesn't consider feeding the poor on the streets of Calgary as beneficial community service. So I have to do it with another organization, but Chris Scott can do it with us.
Warning, censorship.
Hey guys, today I'm joining you from Street Church, Calgary. Now you might already be aware, but this is an initiative set up by Artur Pawlowski, where they serve the most marginalized in our society, those who just need a hot meal, with exactly that. And as you can see behind me, there are lineups, there are plenty of people getting their food, getting what they need to survive in these tough times. And when Calgary authorities decided that feeding homeless people during the bitter winter months here in Canada was to be considered an illegal public gathering, well, the Democracy Fund stepped up to shield Artur from these atrocious fines. We've been reporting on the story ever since, and I should add, if you're in line with the Democracy Fund and think feeding the homeless and hosting church shouldn't be considered criminal, well, go to saveartur.com, where you can directly donate to his legal defense fund, which would also qualify you for a charitable tax receipt. Now, as it stands, Pastor Artur Pawlowski has been arrested on numerous occasions. He's been subject to secret restraining orders, courtesy of Associate Chief Justice John Rook of the Alberta Court of Queen's Bench. And now, Justice Adam Germain has put forth sanctions on the Pawlowski brothers, as well as Chris Scott. Notably, Germain's sanctions state that the Pawlowskis must remain inside Alberta during their probation. They must also promote government talking points while speaking out against government talking points. In other words,
compelled speech is un-Canadian, and we don't believe that it is correct in law. We have appealed on constitutional grounds under the Charter and additional legal tenets, and we're optimistic that the Court of Appeal will not allow this decision to stand. If it does, it sets an extremely dangerous precedent for the government or for the court to tell people what to say. That is not freedom, it's not democratic, and it's not Canadian.
Finally, the orders issued by Germain states they must commit to 120 hours of community service. And even though Artur has been feeding the homeless for decades now through his own organization, Street Church, Justice Germain has disavowed them from serving their community hours in this way. As I mentioned, it isn't just the Pawlowskis that Germain has gone after. Chris Scott of the Whistle Stop has found himself in almost an identical position. And so, in need of community hours, Chris Scott and Artur Pawlowski have teamed up. Chris will be doing some volunteer work for Artur in the Street Church, and the Pawlowskis may well volunteer for Chris Scott. So today, we're coming to you from the streets of Calgary with both Artur and Chris to get us up to speed on the situation. After that, I'm going to tell you exactly what you can do to help these two fight back against this judge's decision.
Even pastors giving no break. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when your gig is up? Bad boys, what you gonna do?
So what's bringing you out to the Street Church today?
So as you and most of the viewers are aware, I was sentenced part of my sentence was community service. So I figured what better way to do that than come down and help Pastor Pawlowski feed the homeless.
Now, I understand that Artur is in a similar position where he has to do volunteer service, but he's not allowed to do it under his own organization. Is he going to be doing some volunteer work for you?
Well, I sure hope so. And that's strange that was even part of the sentence because, and I said this to Artur, how anybody in their right mind can look at what he's doing here and not consider this community service. It's absolutely it boggles my mind, right? He's been doing this for years. He is providing a valuable service for Calgary, and to have Justice Germain say that it's not a community service, it's wild. So he did say that he couldn't use this for his hours, but he didn't say that Artur couldn't sign off on my hours.
What would you say about the clientele here? Who are they?
Well, you know what? It seems like there's a little bit of everybody. I've seen there's some homeless people, there's some people that are just hard up. It's all sorts of people from all walks of life. It's incredible. And actually, it's what I'm hearing is like it's getting bigger and bigger. There's more and more people that need services like this these days. And if that's any kind of indication on how our province is, like the health of our province right now, it's pretty scary. And we're coming into winter, right? So seeing that more and more people need food, they can't afford to buy food right before Christmas it's heartbreaking.
Don't you agree? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when the truth breaks through?
All right, Artur, what brings us out here today for Street Church Calgary?
Well, what brings me here is what has been bringing me here for the past 150 years, it seems like. Taking care of the poor, feeding, praying for people, giving people hope. That's what I do. That's what I have been doing for 22 years now. As you know, we are feeding thousands of people every single week, and today is what I do.
Right now, there's a special guest helping you out. Who is that?
Well, I am thrilled to tell you that we have Chris Scott from the Whistle Stop Cafe. I find this ironic and very interesting that he's here serving his community service that we were charged with. Me and my brother David and Chris Scott, we are to do community service, but me and my brother David, we cannot do it here because the judge doesn't consider feeding the poor on the streets of Calgary as beneficial community service. So I have to do it with another organization, but Chris Scott can do it with us.
So does this mean he's going to set up a way for you to do volunteer service for him?
That's what he said. So we will see. I hope that the appeal will go ahead and the judgment will be put to stay for time being until the proper judges, not the corrupted ones, will be able to look into the merits of the case. Because as you know, Adam Germain, the corrupted judge from Fort McMurray, that found us guilty, did not look at the merits of the case. He is a political activist and he has found us guilty on a court order that was never served to us, was never given to us, and it was done ex parte. So the level of corruption is unbelievable. I believe that when the real judges will look into the case, they will find us innocent of any crime and will allow us to do what we're good at, is giving people hope, feeding the poor. We are, after all, the first responders. We are like medics during the time of war. Soup kitchens were always excluded from the mandates. And unfortunately, the corrupted judges at this moment didn't recognize that. So I believe during the appeal process, we will be vindicated.
And right now, you're in a unique position where you really have your ear to the ground to those who are most marginalized by our society. How has it been for them lately, and what kind of trends do you see arising?
Oh, it's horrible. I hear tragic stories day by day. I mean, every day someone is crying and saying, I've lost jobs. We're not talking about that we are feeding just the poor, the homeless. We are feeding those that have.
A lot of the content that we want to show you, we can't show you on YouTube because they'll take us off the platform entirely. We'd like to be there to show you what's going on, but if you want to see the full-length videos, go to rebelnews.com. Freedom of speech is something that we actually do have in Canada. Unfortunately, it's something Justice Germain forgot about. But if you think he's due for a replacement, go to firethejudge.com, where you can directly email the Canadian Judicial Council and ask for an investigation into Justice Germain. And don't forget to sign the petition. Almost 30,000 people have already signed. So be sure to add your name to the list. And most importantly, we are appealing this compelled speech order. So if you think you should be allowed to say things the government would disagree with without getting the book thrown at you, donate at fightthefines.com. Your donations qualify you for a charitable tax receipt. And not only do donations cover the legal fees of thousands of Canadians, so too will they go towards this appeal, meant to protect not just the free speech of the Pawlowskis and Chris Scott, but each and every one of us who could be a target of this new ruling in the future. So be sure to stay tuned because updates are always coming along. For Rebel News, I'm Fizzard. Thanks for tuning in, and let me remind you to go to saveartur.com. That's where you can go to donate directly to his legal fight, and donations do qualify you for a charitable tax receipt.
I look forward to this every week. You know, this is fellowship and food, and it gets me out of my depression, out of my anxiety. You know, there's a lot of things I can't go to as a unvaxxed person. So, yeah, this is a really great thing that Pastor Art does.